Finally, we have reached the final episode of the last season of The Boys. The show has basically been a source of endless discussion, and it went through a crazy journey full of painful events across 8 episodes. But in the end of it, the series tries to deliver a bittersweet conclusion to this season's story. So let's break down and explain the ending for the final episode of the last season of The Boys together. As we saw in this episode, everything literally came down to this point. Homelander's obsession with becoming an all-powerful god, and Billy Butcher's endless mission to create a future with new soups, finally reached their breaking point, and that's why I'm honestly not surprised the ending focused on the conflicts between these two ideas. Homelander's death was always the only way this story could truly end, or at least that was the goal driving Billy Butcher and the team throughout all 5 seasons. All the pain, the losses, and the difficult moral choices had one purpose: to take down the most powerful man in the world, just like they planned from the beginning. Kimiko was the only real weapon capable of stopping Homelander, but after what happened in the previous episode, nothing was guaranteed anymore. The plan succeeding was no longer certain. Chaos has completely taken over everything, and the final battle inside the White House was exactly that. Pure madness, violence, and total loss of control. When the critical moments arrived, Kimiko tries to use her powers against Homelander, but it doesn't work, or more accurately, she can't bring herself to do it. For a moment, she freezes in her place, unable to unleash her new abilities. Then Frenchie appears almost like a hallucination, or maybe a manifestation of the emotions inside her mind. It's a short moment, but an incredible important one, because it represents the thing that always gave her strength, love, and humanity, and the desire to protect the people she considered family. And because of that, she finally managed to unleash her new powers against Homelander, and even against Butcher and Ryan. And even though the scene might seem a little over the top at first, all the clues suggest that Kimiko successfully removed the compound V from Homelander's body, completely stripping him from his powers, and for the first time in history of the series. The ultimate symbol of fear becomes completely ordinary, just a normal human being with no superpowers at all. And that's where the most important part of the ending happens. Because for Billy Butcher, it was never just about killing Homelander. The real goal was seeing him fall, seeing him defeated physically, psychologically, and emotionally. After years of terrorizing the world, manipulating people, and living like an untouchable king, Homelander ends up completely broken, humiliated in front of Billy Butcher and in front of the entire world throughout a live broadcast. And that alone is the ultimate humiliation for someone whose entire obsession was being loved and accepted by the public. Even after all that, Butcher never takes a step back. After everything he lost, after Becca, after years of death and hatred consuming him, he finally does what he promised from the very beginning. He kills Homelander once and for all. And even though this ending is very different from the comic version, it fits the show far better. Instead of turning into just another giant destruction-filled battle, the episode focuses on something deeper: Homelander's psychological collapse. We watch him drowning in panic and losing control over everything. He can no longer intimidate anyone. He can no longer force people to worship him, and most importantly, he can no longer spread fear the way he used to do. And that makes his ending far more painful. Also, Ryan and Kimiko's help was absolutely necessary to defeat the most powerful soup in history. And even though Homelander's death marks the end of the world's biggest threat, things don't stop there for Butcher. With Homelander's gone, Butcher doesn't choose peace. He becomes convinced that as long as Soups exists, the world would never truly be safe. That's why he decides to use the virus to wipe them out completely. And this was always his plan from the start. Hughie immediately understands what's happening. He tries to convince Butcher to stop. He reminds him of everything they lost, everyone they were trying to protect, but words no longer have any effects on him. Butcher has become completely broken, consumed by revenge to the point where he truly believes that the end justified the means. And in the end, Hughie makes the hardest decision in the entire series. He stops Butcher. After a brutal fight, he shot him. In that moment, Butcher is basically dying, but there's no real anger in this reaction, no hatred toward Hughie. Their final conversation feels strangely honest and painful, because a part of Butcher was always waiting for someone to stop him. And speaking of endings, another character finally reached his fate, the Deep. A lot of fans keep wondering how this guy was even still alive, but the show gives him a perfectly fitting ending. After his final confrontation and long-awaited reckoning, the deep ends up thrown into the ocean. But instead of the sea becoming his safe place, it becomes the place of his death. A very dark and ironic ending. Even though episode 8 of the season 5 closes the main story of The Boys, that doesn't mean this universe is completely over, because the episode also brings back Stan Edgar, and somehow he always survives everything, and his return strongly suggests that Vought hasn't truly fallen yet, which actually fit the nature of this world perfectly. Season 5 had a massive amount of storyline it needed to wrap up. For example, Starlight and Hughie are preparing to have a child together. MM gets remarried, and Kimiko and Ryan seems to get something close to a happy ending. But even though the main series is over, you can be sure the world of Vought isn't disappearing anytime soon. So, was The Boys ending good or bad? Honestly, that depends on who you ask. Personally, I think it was good overall, even though it will definitely divide the fanbase in half, because The Boys was never really a story about heroes saving the world. It was never about hope, justice, or traditional happy endings. From the very first episode, the show made it clear that this world is broken, corrupt, and controlled by people full of power, ego, and violence. That's why the ending had to feel disturbing, harsh, and even bitter. Homelander's downfall doesn't happen in some giant heroic battle where good win against evil. It happens when he loses the thing that truly gave him his powers. Fear. The fear he planted in people that makes this ending more psychological than physical, which fits his character perfectly. And the same thing applies to Butcher. A lot of people expect him to sacrifice himself heroically or receive some kind of redemption, but the show understands something important. Some people become so broken that they can never truly come back. Yes, Butcher succeeds in his mission, but the prize is losing himself completely along the way. Overall, the finale tries to offer a little bit of peace after all the darkness, but even then, the overall feeling is much calmer than expected for a show known for chaos and unpredictability. In the end, nobody truly wins. The monsters die, but the damage remains. And that may be the greatest idea the series ever delivered. So what do you think about the ending of The Boys? So let me know down in the comments, and that was it for today. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.